Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. I am your host, Chris Swick, and on this podcast, we talk about mental health, addictions, ADHD, really anything anyone's afraid to talk about. I myself suffer from ADHD, but it's my superpower, and I enjoy talking to everyone. I believe everyone's story is valuable at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what walk of life you come from. With no further ado, we're going to have a great episode today. We got another fellow ADHDer on the show today. We got content creator, Instagrammer, Tyler Bacon, also known as ADHD Everything over on Instagram, guys. You want to take it away and let them know a little bit about...
Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm on multiple platforms, ADHD Everything. From TikTok is where I really got big. Instagram, I do Facebook. Don't ask me why. YouTube, Twitch, all of the above. Yeah, a lot of the ADHD content and sharing my experience, sharing my journey. My youngest, who we've known has had ADHD for years, but finally got a formal diagnosis this past February. So sharing a little bit of her adventures and the adventures of having 3 neurodivergents under one roof. It's fun.
That must be like a bundle of joy in itself, Tyler. What gave you the idea to create your platform around ADHD? Obviously, you just said there's 3 neurodivergents under one household there.
It actually, okay. It all started once upon a time when a friend of mine, who is now a coworker of mine, we were just hanging out last summer when it was free to do so, when we had our cohort groups, and we were just having some beers on the back deck. And he said, what have you ever looked into this TikTok thing? And I'm like, no, as far as I knew, it was just like a kid's app. I had that misconception like everybody else. And he's like, yeah, you should give it a try. And I'm like, oh, what the hell? It's another creative outlet. I've always had some kind of creative outlet here, there, and everywhere. I'm like, why not? It's another place to make stupid videos and have a laugh. So that's where I started. And that's where it began. Like, my first video was me versus my ADHD brain having a conversation about we saw some guy in the Canadian Tire parking lot. He had a giant bronze statue of a bull, and it was like a super detailed statue, like you even saw the nuts on it. So that was my first video, was conversing about, I want a statue. Oh, this one here, it's so detailed, it's even got the nuts on it. And that's where it began.
And is that
That's
like,
the
where
beginning of
did
the
that
adventure.
video take off for you?
Yeah.
Or was it more and more, you just started doing them on a daily or every couple days?
It was whenever I felt like it, kind of thing. I would do one here, one there kind of thing. And it wasn't until, what was the first one that, I can't remember what the first one was. The second one was, it was an expression that I had heard on a TED Talk, I believe. And this lady said that never tell ADHD people to get their ducks in a row, because there are no ducks, there are no rules. We have squirrels and they're at a rave. And that was the one that took off. Like that, I think I put that up 3 times, and I think there's 1.3 million on it or something between the 3. And it started to build from there. And then, yeah, just sharing my own experience and what I go through, the things that I deal with on the daily. And yeah, it just started building.
And
then,
what are some coping strategies and stuff you have for yourself as an adult with ADHD? Myself as well. There's so many different everyone has their own coping strategies, or I'm hypomanic sometimes and just go to town on creativity. And then the next thing I know, it's 5 in the morning. Oh shit, I got to go to work at 8 a.m.
well, there's a story in my past 20 years, give or take. Yeah. A lot of creativity. Definitely a lot of creativity. Anything artistic. I have a diploma in digital media production. So like graphic arts, animation, website, stuff like that. Before that, a friend of mine and I, we were musicians, and we just wrote electronic music together, put out an album back in 2001, and just dabbled in it here and there. I still dabble in it every now and again. I come back around to it when I'm not working on my current hyperfixation, whatever that happened to be at the time. Right now, it's getting this damn computer put back together. But yeah, creativity has always been my strong suit in some fashion or another, be that in creating some kind of just a goofy ass video and then just doing the editing on that. I had a couple other creators actually give me a nice little compliment, saying that as soon as they're scrolling, and as soon as they see the beginning of one of my videos, they know it's mine because of the way that I edit. Right? Okay.
And then you speed up your sound too, to make it sound like we're talking crazy fast, or you're talking like crazy fast. Now, do you do that obviously on purpose just because of the
Yeah.
ADHD?
Yes, and I do that because out of the I'm not even gonna try and guess the numbers right now, but I would say probably between 70 and 80% of my following would be fellow neurodivergents of some kind. Now, it's shown in studies that we have a faster processing speed, which is why I do it. But I only do it, I cap at 1.4, and that's it, because there is still that 20-30% that I have as followers that they can't process that anything higher than that. Whereas some people tell me I'm still going too slow. Sorry, I gotta, split the difference there somehow. But yeah, that's why I do it. I speed it up. Initially, I started doing it was because we only had the 1 minute. So you had to cram all this in 60 seconds. And sometimes when you're off on a roll, it ends up being 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes long. So I ended up trying to compress it down. So that way I could fit all of this into one video, and I don't have to do that. Like for part two, because I fucking hate that beyond anything else. It drives me nuts, man. No. So I try and cram everything into there, and then it just there like if you go into any of the comments on the majority of the videos I do that on, there will be a handful, especially on TikTok, not so much Instagram, but more so on TikTok, where they're like, I appreciate that you sped this up. Oh my God, this speed, stuff like that. So it's like the processing, it helps to be able to capture and retain that information. So
And I like that
that's
you
why I
say
do it.
that though too about speeding it up because not everyone can follow along where I feel I can follow along to someone that talks really fast where maybe a fellow friend or a partner that isn't neurodivergent they're like I'm lost what just happened here so I love that you speed it up though too because I find it comical though because it's just have a good chuckle in my brain because this is the way my brain works though. And people are like,
Well,
"Chris,
and
shut up and slow down, like, you talk too fast." Well, this is the way I talk, and if you can't keep up, well, too bad.
yeah. And when I really get going, yes, I can. Right. But there are a lot of times where it's brain's going too fast, lips can't keep up. My daughter suffers from that terribly. Right. Like her brain is going so incredibly fast, and she just can't. Right. The lips trip over the thoughts, and trying to stop and remember where the hell you were. It's like standing on the side of the highway and you're watching cars go by, and all of a sudden a blue Camaro goes by and you're like, wow, that thing had a really nice decal on it. By the time you're trying to focus on that car and that decal that's on that car, it's gone. So you're trying to watch all this shit happen, and you're trying to catch up with it. And it's a mess.
It
It's
is.
such a mess.
Well, let's circle back to your daughter, like, how is she doing with everything? Maybe you can speak on her behalf, like, with the coping and stuff like that, like, when she got diagnosed,
Hmm.
was there something going like, was she scared? Those types of things?
No, no. When she was diagnosed, it was no surprise to anybody, nobody whatsoever. And the thing is, because especially females, and in a lot of cases, kids, there's that stigma of, oh, they just want to put them on Ritalin and fucking turn them into zombies. And that's not at all how it works. But because girls are typically so highly overlooked, my wife and I, we were bracing for war. We were prepared to go in there and just go to war over her getting a diagnosis, because we know what that can mean. That can mean accommodations if she needs them in school going forward. That can mean medication to help her if she needs it. So we were ready. We were going to go in there and absolutely fight for it. Nope, didn't need to. Our family doctor recommended her to a pediatrician, and the pediatrician is fantastic. His wife has it, his son has it. So she was in there for 5 minutes, and how did she feel about it afterwards? We did a little video on that at the time, on the day of it, right? And recorded right before and right after. Asked her, are you scared? Are you nervous? And she said she was a little scared at the time just because she didn't know what to expect. But afterwards, no, she has a better understanding and a better grasp on it than a lot of people our age, I think. In that, and especially those who have gone through their lives being either undiagnosed or stigmatized or fed misinformation or invalidated, or the list goes on and on. Like my wife and I, our biggest, our biggest task, I think, is to give her as much of the good information as we can, and then provide her with as much of the strategies and coping skills that she can retain. And No, it's not always easy because you're talking about a 9-year-old at the end of the day, right? Like her bedroom downstairs was a mess. My wife went down there and did some cleaning on it and whatnot. We have methods that we try and use with her for cleaning up, right? If that means doing a Pomodoro, which she'll do by herself, breaking it into smaller chunks, giving yourself a little reward afterwards, things like that. Like it's the amount that she knows and she's learning to me is astounding. And I'm incredibly proud of her because these are things that I didn't have. I was diagnosed in my 20s, but I never understood what that meant until the past 2 years. I just thought I'm lazy. I'm forgetful. I'm outwardly hyperactive sometimes. I can't remember things. This is all I thought it was. And then in the last year, like this great big revelation of, oh shit, I found all these people that are just like me. And I go through this. And oh my God, I go through this. Oh my God, I can relate to this. And all of that understanding. I view myself as a later life diagnosis that way because, yeah, sure, I've been diagnosed for 20 years, but I had no idea what it meant. Like nothing. So,
And I feel you there too. Like when I was diagnosed as a younger child, but it actually came after something, a child traumatic experience from my childhood had happened, and then I started acting out and the things I was doing and stuff like that. And what do they do? Pump me. Here's a bunch of Ritalin. But then I started
mhm,
abusing that with my addictive tendencies and my addictive
mhm,
personality. And lo and behold, that spiraled into other things. So I really didn't get a good grasp on mine till I got clean and sober just over 2 years ago of
mhm,
the ADHD that I was diagnosed with 25 years ago almost. And
yeah,
same with me. And then I started doing my research and coming across other people like yourself, Tyler, and other neurodivergents with podcasts or whatnot, and just doing my own research and my fiance doing research and stuff like that too. And it's just, yeah, I'm not lazy. I'm not that. Sometimes, yes, I can be lazy or I can be
right.
forgetful. I do have to
Yep.
write things down. I use my damn reminders on my iPhone at all times.
Yep.
Exactly.
Same.
"Hey, Siri, remind me to do this," and I whatever, but I have to, or I have to write out my whole schedule for the podcast the month before, else I'll forget and put it on paper or in
Yeah.
the thing. I'll forget who the hell I'm editing for the next 2.
We do the exact same thing on ours, actually, because we just wrapped our first season. And we ended up being 2 episodes short because that we call it Rule Zero, real life happening. One of the co-hosts, he ended up moving to a different state down in the US. My other co-host ended up having computer issues, phone broke, just a whole slew of shit. And health because she also has EDS. They were in a lot of pain for 3 weeks. She got super, super sick. So it was all of these things just compounding and okay, we'll cut it short kind of thing. And actually afterwards tonight, we're supposed to have a little powwow and discuss what we're going to be doing going forward for the next season of our podcast. So yeah, I feel you there, right? Like they send me a list every episode of okay, these are the basic bullet notes, and we're going to try and cram this into an hour and a half or whatever
Yeah.
it happened to be. And we'll sit there and we'll talk and just banter back and forth for 3, 4 hours and record all of it. And then it falls to me to try and cut this down to an hour. And that's not always a good time. And because there's so much gold in there sometimes. And
Yeah.
then there are other times where it's like, where the hell did this conversation end up? Okay, never mind. Forgetting that's,
What rabbit hole did we go down tonight?
oh God, so many.
So what's the name of that podcast, Tyler, while we're on that topic, and where can everyone find it?
It is called,
Season
wait,
1.
what was I doing? A squirrel, an ape, and a trash panda's ADHD podcast, and it is everywhere. It's Spotify, Amazon, Google, YouTube, um, all of the main places. But
That's
yeah,
amazing.
it's called
So everyone go check this podcast out of Tyler's. I can't even remember the damn frickin' name again, but he'll say it once more.
Wait, what was I doing? A squirrel, an ape, and a trash panda's ADHD podcast, because that's what we are. And yeah,
Love it.
it goes over all of the things, right? The first couple episodes, we covered the basics of the diagnostic criteria in the DSM. We went over things like addiction. We went over things like, I can't even remember. My God, of course not. But in every episode, we're accused of doing the call outs, right? Because I do this, blah, blah, blah. And people are like, oh God, I do that too. Why are you talking about this shit? We're not supposed to talk about this like it's some big company's secret or something.
Yeah. What are some major misconceptions about ADHD while we're on the topic?
Oh, how long is this podcast?
We got all night.
The major misconceptions.
But I may be sending it to you to edit then.
Oh, you're gonna have to wait till I reinstall the program, but major misconceptions. Oh, there are so many that you need to be bouncing off the walls all the time. That is the biggest one I think that I have to fight against. People think that just because I'm not jumping around in my seat nonstop means that I don't have it. Just because you're not expressing it outwardly does not mean you're not expressing it inwardly. And that's the thing. And that's why it got rolled into ADD. That's why it got nixed and rolled into ADHD in 2013. Because just because I'm not sitting here shaking and vibrating, like my legs going under the desk here, but just because I'm not sitting here bouncing around and doing this doesn't mean that it's not there. The fact that everybody has a little bit of it. Bullshit. The fact that you can get it from gluten, exercise will cure you, that
I call bullshit on
every
that one right now because I exercise all the time and I do it for my mental health. Yes, it helps me with my mental health.
Mhm.
It calms me down and puts me in that calming state, but it doesn't get rid of my ADHD for the day.
Exactly. These are all tools in the toolbox, though. That's the thing, right? People think that somebody takes an Adderall and they're cured. It doesn't fucking work like that. Like, not even close. It is a tool in the toolbox, and that is it. It is one thing in conjunction with things like diet, exercise, good sleep, therapy, good routines and habits. There's a handful of things that all go together, right? It's not just one thing is going to fix it. Nothing is going to cure it. It is something that has to be dealt with every day, every minute of every day for the rest of your life. So these people that think that Ritalin is a magic wand or something, no, it doesn't work like that at all. Not even a little bit.
No, and what I have to take, yes, I take my medication daily, but I definitely know when I haven't taken it or haven't taken it for a few days, or I don't highly suggest anyone that suffers, I don't like saying suffering from ADHD, that has
Some
ADHD
do.
or or deal with it. But I don't suggest going off your medication cold turkey or trying to quit on your own. Do it under the direction of your doctor. Because trust
Yes,
me, it doesn't
always.
usually go well. It's almost like going man and psycho all at once for me. I
Yeah.
don't know what mood I'm gonna be in from day to day.
But that's another thing too. Another
Yeah.
misconception is people just think that, oh, I'll just give you Ritalin and that'll make you better. But it doesn't work like that because of your body chemistry. Different medication works differently for different people. The same thing applies to things like Tylenol and Advil. Okay. A T3 is going to work better on person X as it is compared to person Y simply because of their body chemistry. Right? The same can be said of medications, like all kinds of medications. That's why I don't speak about medication. People are always like, well, I'm going to be starting on this. What do you think? Good luck.
Yeah, it's
What more
all
do you want me to
depends
say?
how
I'm not going to say any more than
I'm not a doctor.
because I'm not a doctor. I'm not qualified to speak on it for one. And everybody is different. So it's going to react to you differently than it does to me, than it does to my daughter, than it does to my wife. So people who
Yeah.
just think that, oh, Ritalin will just solve it all.
Yeah, just the one
No.
pill. No, it took me, I'll tell you right now, Tyler, it took probably about 10 to 12 different medications till finally find the one that worked for me.
And different
And
dosages too.
and different dosages, and I'm at a pretty damn high dose, so I have a high tolerance, and when you take it for
Yeah.
a long time, yes, you gotta up the dose and stuff like that, else it's gonna just you're just gonna plateau, basically. It's like anything. It's like doing drugs. At the end of me doing
Yep.
drugs, I was just doing the drugs so I didn't get sick. It wasn't even to get high anymore. So,
Mhm. I hear that a lot. But,
yeah,
yeah, like, for my daughter was on Concerta, and it did not work. It did not go well. Like,
it didn't go well for me. It
hurt
really
her.
fucked with her. There's some side
I hear
effects
that
that men
common
don't
thing
want.
too.
They didn't like me for a while and was wondering what was going on.
Or I heard the dog fart, and it distracted me, and I
Yeah,
got nothing.
turned me off.
Moment's gone. I don't know what to tell you. But, yeah, for her, she tried Concerta, and it didn't work. It did not have happy results, so the doctor said, "Okay, stop right now." He did a different prescription, and she's been on that ever since. And that works fantastically compared to what she was on beforehand.
It's
Whereas,
like that old saying is, "It's different strokes for different folks."
and it totally is. And again, that's because different meds work differently on different people. So,
100%. Let's dive a little bit into your creativity. What sparks
mm,
your creativity and makes those wheels in your head start turning?
oh God, it could be anything. It really could be. It depends on the day. Actually, yesterday it was my wife. Actually, she had mentioned something about a gift that she had got for Christmas, which was sushi socks. So it's socks with these designs of sushi on them. So the way that the packaging was, it looked because the way they roll up socks, right? It looked like a roll of sushi. Hello. So they put in there these little clear plastic bottles, or these little translucent plastic bottles. And she said to me, I want to keep these. For what? But she's like, I want to keep these. I could probably use these for something. And I just grabbed my phone. I'm like, you want to say that again? Pointed at her because she's undiagnosed, but I'm like, she ticks all the boxes. So that's one of my running jokes. Tell me your wife has undiagnosed ADHD without telling me. So I just started recording, pointed the phone at her. And she tells the story. I want to keep these. I might be able to do something with them. I'm like, and what did you say after that? Is that why I have a closet full of craft stuff that I never use? Because I hate doing crafts, but I might be able to use it someday. I'm like, so tell me your wife. So it could be anything. At the moment, it was that, right? Earlier today, it was just a shit post earlier, but we were at the mall because we were doing some switching her phone over. And they wanted to see this one store we never saw. It was up an escalator. So I'm just riding up the escalator and I just recorded us riding up and down the escalator because it was, I don't know.
I enjoy doing crap like that too, just
Oh,
filming
yeah.
some silly crap, or I found this hilarious new effect on the phone, and I was like,
Mhm.
and my fiance is walking out today, and it just creates all these crazy different, like, effects and stuff, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Just keep walking and talking."
I'm recording. Don't worry
Yeah,
about it.
and then I posted it, and she's just shook her head. Whatever.
I'm just over here recording. Don't mind me. There's nothing to see
Exactly.
here.
And
Carry on.
myself too with the creativity, Tyler. It just all depends on the day, really, at the end of the day, and what I might see something going to work, or catch a quick commercial or a glimpse of a picture, and that just gives me an idea and gets my ball rolling, and I'll jump right on
Mhm.
Canva or gotta create this today sort of thing, or
Yep.
you know?
Or other creators, even. Somebody's
Yeah,
talking about a certain topic and they're giving their perspective or their experience on a certain topic.
it gives me
And
the idea to give me mine.
yeah, so I want to contribute to that. I want to share my sorry. I want to share my experience on it. Yes, I agree with you, but this is my take, or this is what how I relate to it, what I have to go through for it. Things like not necessarily meds, the symptoms, the traits that we have, right? Getting sidelined and having your thoughts run away and not be able to keep up with them, all sorts of stuff. So if I see another creator talking about that, then yeah, it might inspire me to talk about it. I have a couple of drafts that I could probably dunk that say that same.
And I like that too, like, or I see ideas from other podcasters and stuff, and I'll throw my own spin on it and make a post about it too and stuff like that, and give them the credit that they inspired me to do this sort of thing, and there's lots out there that like that. I like giving credit where credit's due too,
Same.
and that's huge, I think. If someone get and I like getting feedback from others, that, "Hey, we really enjoy your show," or, "I really enjoy the stories you share." It's a diverse community on this show. That's why I love it. Anyone's
Mhm.
welcome, and I don't give a shit who you are. Like you said
Yeah.
before we even hopped on, but we're not gonna sit here and talk politics and religion all day, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. No, that's not my bag. People have their own beliefs. And the thing about a belief is you're not going to change a belief by belittling somebody else, by trying to convince them that they're thinking the wrong way or whatever. Doesn't work like that. Like my beliefs are mine and that's that. Your beliefs are yours. I'm not going to try and change yours. You're not going to try and change mine. There we go. Moving on.
Exactly.
So that's why I don't go into those topics. There's too much division and hatred in the world as it is. I don't need to contribute further to
Not at all.
that's not what I'm about.
No, I'm about having fun. I don't even believe there should be a stigma around mental health or any of these things.
There shouldn't be.
There's been one created. There really shouldn't be. We should all just be at peace with one another and,
Mhm,
stop the bullshit hating on everyone. That's my
mhm.
take on it.
Oh, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. The stigma has been around for far too long, and I think that's ever since I started to develop a following, I made that a part of what I wanna do. I wanna destigmatize this. I want to normalize this because we may only be, depending on the region and what source you check, between 9 and 11% of the population, but we're still a part of the population, and we're not going away. Pretending that we don't exist doesn't make it. And the stigmatization of things like medication, of mental health as a whole, it needs to stop. It needs to be better understood. Thankfully, from a lot of the stuff I'm seeing in the past 2 years, a lot of people really are, they're learning that after being locked in a house by yourself for 18 months, oh shit, some of us, the gears aren't quite firing all right. I think that realization has really brought it a lot more to the forefront. Maybe not the forefront, but certainly pushed it forward. And I like that it's becoming less of a taboo thing to talk about.
100%, and I'm not afraid to talk about it anymore, where maybe 2, 3 years ago,
Mm-mm.
it was still a little taboo to me, but today, like, after getting cleaned
Same.
up, sober, there's nothing to be afraid of. Let's be humble, let's be have humility and be transparent. I love transparency and just sharing everything, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna share every single dirty detail, but you'll get the
Right.
gist of it. You know what I mean? There's no need to share there's a time and place for everything, you know what I mean? You don't need to share everything on your Instagram or your Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
There's just a time and place for everything, but you'll get little bits of my story as I get going and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
that's what I like doing.
Yep. Same.
Gonna leave a little bit of a mystery there.
Yeah. Not much, but a little bit. I feel the same way. I kind of made that promise to myself again when I started to realize, oh shit, I'm getting a bit of a following here. So, uh, with with that comes a bit of a responsibility, I feel, and that's why I don't really have a whole lot of problem being as transparent as I am in a lot of cases. Like I had a very hard day 3 weeks ago or something, and it was just my brain was just being an asshole and just would not stop. There was no stopping. And I didn't want to get out of bed. I couldn't, like, I was gripped. And I made a post about it because I know that there are so many people that get value out of knowing that they're not the only ones who feel like that. That everybody, every one of us has the capacity to have a day like that where you're having these thoughts that you're unworthy, that you're not valid. None of the work you do is worth anything. Nobody gives a shit, that you're better off not being here. And it was a nonstop onslaught that whole day. And it was fucking unbearable, honestly. But I had my wife and she was incredibly understanding. And we just laid in bed and watched TV all day. And that was probably the best thing that I could have done because anything I would have tried to do, it would have been half-assed. It would have been baseline at best, and that's it. So it was just like, "Nope, fuck it, clear the schedule. I'll worry about it tomorrow."
And
Yeah,
I
I
have
made a
those days,
post.
and that's what it's all about, making those posts. If people only see happy you, that's bullshit. Because there's some days that I have bad days, and it's okay, and I'll tell people about it, or I'll make a
Mhm,
little post about it, you know? Or this past week, I didn't care to release an episode on the Monday, and I don't
mhm,
have to have any reasoning for it. I just let the people know because everyone knows I release Mondays and Fridays. "Hey, I'm
mhm,
not releasing one this week." I just really didn't give a fuck too, and I wasn't up to it, and I didn't feel I was gonna give my best effort. I didn't wanna just throw an edit together in 5 minutes and post something. I like putting quality stuff together, so I took a couple days and put it out a couple days late. So be it.
yep. I 100% relate to that as somebody who also edits podcasts. I feel you there, and we have in my community, we have an expression, "Rule 0." Real
I
life
like
comes
that.
always. If that means that you need to step back and take a break because your brain can't handle it that day, because it's being an asshole that day, or because you just need a mental health break. Rule 0, real life comes first always. So
Like
that
it.
means take
Real
care of
life
you.
comes first always. I love it.
Yeah. That was something we actually started when a friend of mine and I were gaming. We were a bunch of those Warcraft nerds back in 2004 kind of thing. And the guild that we were in it was a social rating guild, but it was like heavy focus on the social part. So if somebody couldn't show up for a raid of whatever, a planned event, okay, real life came first. And that was, we always adhered to that. I try to implement that in every digital space that I'm a part of. And then now it's just a part of my community to the point where somebody will just say rule 0. Everybody knows what that means.
I
Means
love
I
it.
have to take a step back. Yeah.
Everyone listen to this right now. Rule 0. Real life comes first. If something comes and you gotta deal with it, that's okay.
Yep.
You don't need to be you have no obligation to your social media or to your following or whatever. And if they really care, they'll understand.
Yep. The amount of support and praise that I got after, first off, putting that one post up where I was in bed all day. And it's funny too because there was a part of me who was like, "Don't bother. Why are you bothering?" No, because people can relate to this and people need to understand that they're not the only ones. That even those of us that are on this ridiculous pedestal or whatever go through the same thing that they do. So I felt that was important and almost necessary. So that's why I put that up. The amount of people though that praise that because they felt the same way, they could relate to that. And then afterwards I explained this is what rule 0 is. And then I gave them a brief on that. And the amount of people that are like, oh my God, that is amazing. They understand that. And a lot of people want to try. I hear other communities have now implemented. Actually, I found out that it's a Dungeons and Dragons thing too. Rule 0
Nice.
means the DM is always right. I learned something new.
Thank you for sharing that. I love that a little acronym or whatever you wanna call it, but Rule 0, everyone, remember that.
Hmm.
So, are there any habits or activities you've spent too much time on this past year that you want to cut back on in the future, Tyler?
Ooh, that's hard to say because a lot of the things that I end up getting rabbit holed on are generally stuff for the community and for my streams. So doing overlays, building my infamous little squirrel train, things like that. I think a vast majority of it has been very community oriented and
Nice.
stuff for my stream. Stuff that I want to cut back. Being so goddamn hard on myself, probably.
That's a good one.
If
Everyone
any,
we're all so hard on ourselves and don't
oh yeah.
give, us as an individual credit where credit's due. I'm hard on myself too. Everyone I think is guilty of being hard on themselves.
It's true, but not everybody has the wonderful brain that will sit there and call you down after having to deal with 4 decades of internalized ableism and stigma and invalidation and all of that. A lot of us have the brains that have clung on to that garbage. And so on those days where you can't muster up what it takes to do the dishes or something, and then you already feel bad enough about it. And then your brain jumps in there and is, you're a lazy piece of shit. You know that? And you're like, no, I just can't right now. You're a lazy piece of shit. You know that? So you have to sit there and have that internal war with all of this learned bullshit behavior or these learned bullshit stigmas and whatnot that you have to fight against constantly because anybody who doesn't go through it doesn't understand it. They think that in the case of the dishes, actually, a good example. If somebody is incapable that day of doing their dishes, they get up, they look at them, and they say to themselves, I want to do this. I want to get this done, but they can't do it. They become overwhelmed at the sight of it. Their brain goes into shutdown. It locks onto something else because the dopamine's not there, whatever the case is. And then somebody who doesn't have to experience this is just like, you're lazy. Just go and do them. Okay, but it doesn't work like that. Maybe it does for you. But that's not how it works for a lot of us. Like, it's another one of the things I have to speak out against quite often.
And I love that you say that because I have those, internal voices sometimes, and sometimes I really don't give a shit to do the dishes or clean the bathroom. And yes, I know I've said I'm going to do it, but
Mhm.
it's now gonna wait till the next day. But I try not to procrastinate too much because things really start to build up.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but
and
even if
even
I
though is
put
that
it up for a half hour, sometimes I try to
yeah,
do that. Yeah.
but the difference is, like, a lot of us, we have problems with executive functioning, right? So the ability to do these things is hard.
Yeah.
Whereas, right, like, lazy is a choice. I choose not to do them. I choose not to clean the bathroom, as you say, not to do the dishes, not to do the laundry. I'm making the conscious choice to not do that versus I want to do this. I intend to do this, but I am overwhelmed by the number of steps that my brain has calculated that it is going to take to do it.
And
And what
that's where
happens? God
I
forbid if
have
you
that
get
problem too.
sidetracked. Yeah.
Especially with the cleaning part of it, like, even though for a normal person, it only takes them 10 minutes to sweep the floors or mop, there's a whole process going on in my brain that I have to now go
Mhm.
get the mop. I have to put the Swiffer wet jet on. I have to do this, and I have to do that. There's, all these internal warfares like you were just talking about,
Yep.
but that any normal person can do it right away. They think it's just that easy. Well, it really isn't. 'Cause I gotta go open that dishwasher up and holy shit, there's 60 pieces of dishes in it. How is
Mhm.
that gonna go away in 5 minutes? It does when I'm finally do it, but
Here's a test for you to try. Ask a neurotypical what it takes to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
it takes peanut butter.
Ask them how many steps it takes to perform that task.
It takes a lot. I don't know how
The
many.
neurotypical will tell you that it takes about 5, give or take. Go and get the bread, get the peanut butter spread, done. Whereas for me, right now, sitting where I'm sitting right now, I've already come up with 25 steps that it's going to take for me to get that done.
Oh, same with me. That's why some days lunches don't get made and I go to work with no lunches.
Exactly.
Like, this is a
Exactly.
lot of
And that's
work.
why
I
a
don't have
lot of
time
us,
to do this.
yep,
Meanwhile, I got an
a lot
hour
of us
to do
don't
it.
end up eating.
Yeah. And I used to be bad for that, but I really try, like, that's one of the things that are in my to-do list every morning, you know what I mean? Like, eating properly, the health, those types of things, and I have a list I pack every day.
But the
I
fact that
have
you have
to.
to have it on a list, right?
Yeah.
Like, it is something that you have to actually you've got to actually schedule that. I have to schedule eating. I have to schedule having water,
I have to.
schedule a piss break, because it happens, right? The brain's just, nope, it's not happening right now. Carry on what you're doing, especially if
Yeah.
you're rabbit holed. You're working on something and you're like, nope, that can wait until later.
And then ask a neurotypical, and it's just so easy.
Just get up and do it.
Yeah, must be
Right?
nice. What
It
was
really
your
must be.
exactly. What was your biggest unexpected challenge of the last year, and are you proud of how you met it?
Unexpected challenge. This last year has been quite a lot of challenges.
Is there one in
Um,
particular that stood out at you, Tyler?
Trying to think of one. Going back to work. Yeah. The realization that I have to go back out and people, that's a thing, especially after all of this and all of the lockdown and just idiot people, right? On never mind the invalidating ones or what, just the dumb ones out there. Oh my God. I'm so glad that the contract I took is not customer facing. Thankfully, like, there are some clients that I have to, like, answer phones and help them with some tech issues and stuff, and that's not the end of the world. The fact that I had to swallow the pride and had to go back out there because I was trying to take the long run, like the hard run at doing the content creator thing, and then for a while there, it looked like it might happen, and then the world started opening back up, and people ended up started going back to work and doing their thing, and it was just I watched that slight decline, and it was that realization that, okay, this is not gonna be a thing in the same capacity that I hope for it to be, and it was hard to swallow. It really was. Because of course, when and a lot of us, we have those grand ideas. Well, I can do this and I can do this. And how it didn't turn out that way. Like, how many hobbies have you had in your life where if you're not immediately good at it, you just quit and never do it again? So
I
having
I I
to,
I can count maybe on more than both my hands, but we won't get
uh-huh.
into that.
Now, my podcast is like calling people out with this shit. But if you think about it, how many times if you're not immediately good at something, then fuck it, it's not worth doing. Even though you've done all of the research on it and basically you became a textbook expert on the subject. I'm not going to say that about foam crafting and cosplay stuff. No, not at all. But then the realization that it's not panning out how I wanted to in my head, and then the fight internally that I had to go through with the brain saying you're just not good enough for it, so don't bother, and fighting against that. Whereas I'm reading comments from people and getting hundreds of DMs saying that I've helped them in some way, and having that, leaning on that, like, there's a bunch of them I took screenshots of, and I keep them in my phone for the days where I just feel like giving up, where I feel like it's not worth it. I feel like I'm making no difference. I feel like whatever. And I go back and I look through some of these and I'm reminded, yeah, I'm making an impact. I'm making a positive impact on, and even if it was 5 people, if it was one person, whatever. But I'm like, I get tons of these and they keep me going. Honestly, they are the reason I keep doing it, because otherwise the brain would have won the fight and I would have given up as soon as it looked like, no, this is not, you're not going to be able to do this full time. Like I said, it's a hard pill, a very hard pill to swallow, and I wanted to give up.
And
I
that's like
can't.
myself too, and I know I have big plans going forward and stuff like that too, and I'm just keep plugging away at it, and I love that you just keep plugging away at it too, Tyler, a fellow neurodivergent, because I've felt like giving up sometimes too, but I go back through some DMs, and people saying, "Hey," or reaching out about their kids or their sons or
Mhm,
daughters that are going through. I'm more in the addictions and stuff like that, and people just reaching
mhm,
out, just asking for some advice. And I'll tell them I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you what worked for me. If you choose to pass that information on and they wanna use it, by all means,
mhm.
that's a win right there. I can't force them to go get help, though. I can just offer the suggestions that were suggested to me or passed down to me that work
Yep.
for me.
I can point you in the direction,
Yeah,
but you're the one who has to take the steps.
exactly.
So, no,
And with
I
the
feel that totally.
creativity, I'm just getting more creative. Like yourself, I don't know, you probably watch YouTube videos if you don't know something too. I'm that's to say, ah. No, I like figuring things out myself though too. That's how I figured out this whole podcasting thing. I
Yeah.
had no clue what the hell I was doing when I started a year and a half ago. I
Me
asked a
too.
buddy who was a musician, "What mic do I use?" He sort of pointed me in the right direction, pointed me where I needed to go, and away I went. I learned as I went, and it's amazing how much I've blossomed, though. And not trying to toot my own horn, but if you just keep plugging away at things, you do get better with practice. I'll tell you, I'm not
Oh, you
perfect,
absolutely do.
nor will I ever be, but my game stepped up from when I started to where I am now. And even my many people have said that just the quality,
Yeah.
the things I've done, the content I create, I just enjoy getting creative.
Yep. And it's true though, the more you do it, the better you get at it. So yeah, it is important, especially if you've invested time into something and it's something that you do enjoy. At the end of the day, don't let your brain be that lying asshole that it is and tell you that, no, you're no good at this, blah, blah, blah. If you've invested time into it, you're going to get better at it. That's guaranteed.
100%. Never give up, people. Don't give up on yourself. Even if others are saying you're no good at it or your brain's telling you you're no good at it, stick to it if it's something you enjoy doing, like Tyler just said.
Yeah, I love the content creation. I absolutely do. It's a fantastic creative outlet. It gives me a chance to. Uh, Initially, I started just doing goofy. I wanted to do goofy shit, and then as I stumbled across it was on TikTok where I first stumbled across it was ADHD TikTok, and all of these other people that are going through all the same things that I am, and I'm like, oh God, I need to share my perspective on this. So I started doing that, and then more and more people they're like, really? You do that too? Yeah, yeah, it's true. I do. And I don't know, maybe it's that I'm some dude in his 40s who looks like your average dad or something. That seems to be the appeal. Like, that's why half my community calls me Squirrel Dad.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
cool. I love it.
Roll
I'm
with it.
down with that. I roll with it. I love it. But yeah, I think that's probably a good part of it because I just look like that everyday average Joe dad. And if this guy's going through it and, you know, can face it and is telling me this is how I deal with it, maybe it'll work for you. Hey, maybe I'll try that.
100%. I love it. I love it, Tyler. What talent will be useless in the future?
Customer service.
Why is that? I'm in
Um,
customer service myself. I'm in sales.
it's no, it's sales is different.
I know.
A robot's not going to be able to sell you
A car.
whatever as
Yeah.
good a car as good as a person can, I think. But I think a lot of the like you see it at places like Walmart and whatever where everything is replaced with self-serve checkouts. I think that's going to be more and more. That's going to be the way of the world
It's just like going probably
in the
like
not too distant future.
no, I hear you. You even going to a fast food restaurant, not that I eat the garbage most days. I
No, but they
just
have a kiosk.
exactly. But like you said, the kiosk, but pretty soon that's just gonna be someone in the back making it. It's gonna come up on a damn tray or conveyor belt when your
Oh,
meal's
with your
ready.
number. Now serving number 27. Here's what you and they'll fuck up my hamburger that way too.
Damn, they didn't double up the pickles.
I can deal with the pickles, but
Yeah.
no cheese. I can't.
Before we end off here, man, got one last question and stuff.
Sure.
Does free will exist or is every action predetermined?
By what? Now, admittedly, my wife and I just finished watching Loki. So that's a dangerous question to ask me right now.
I love it. Well, let's get in.
That's a lot to think about. But I think if you're going to say no, then you have to believe that something or somebody is pulling the strings. And that means a lot of strings, nearly 8 billion of them on this planet alone. Do I think that there is any power in that capacity? No, I don't believe that there is. Does free will exist? Yeah, I think it does.
I love, free will, I think exists as well for the mere fact that people do whatever the fuck they want every day.
Free will does not mean free of consequence, though.
No, exactly. That's why we have prisons
That's right. Yeah.
or other things in other countries that are a little,
Yeah.
less fortunate than ours.
Yeah. Very true. We're very fortunate in that regard.
I think we are, and some people don't think so. Go live in some of these other countries and tell me if you wanna come back pretty quick.
It's true. Places that don't have the healthcare that we do. And it's far from perfect, but it is a far cry better than the majority of places. So there's that. A lot of our education, a lot of our culture, and I say that hesitantly, especially in with the realizations of the last couple of years. But again, they're still a far cry better than some places. Are they perfect? No. Can they be improved? Vastly, but they're still better than some. So
100%.
in that regard,
Or
yeah, I think we're pretty fortunate.
we definitely are. I'm very fortunate to live where I live today. So before we go though, Tyler, where can everyone find you? You wanna drop your socials and stuff like that, and where everyone can go
Sure.
find you and follow you, and if they wanna hop on your Discords or where not?
Yep. Yep. Social media wise, TikTok's the biggest, Instagram a nice close second, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. I do have a Twitter, but I tend to forget it exists. All of which are ADHD everything. You can find me there. My Discord is about 2,600 neurodivergents strong. And that is, we call it the Squirrel Station because why the hell not? Quick link, discord.gg/squirrel station will get you there. And yeah, I will get back to streaming pretty quick here. Again, I'm rebuilding the computer, which the hard drive crashed on me. Thank God they fix it nice and quick, but that doesn't mean I don't need to reinstall every fucking program and get that all set up again. I'll end up back to streaming next week. My stream schedule is on my Instagram.
Nice. I really appreciate you, taking the time again to come on the show.
I
And,
appreciate
you
you
know,
poking at me.
everyone go, hey, I got to poke at everyone. That's how
Well, I
people
love
ask me, how do you get all these guests on and stuff like that? And I'll be honest, I'm going to drop a name because this person told me about you. And this is how I found out about you. And so it's actually my fiance's lash lady that does her lashes for her.
like,
Yes, from
interesting.
over here in Guelph, Ontario, says you got to check this guy out. She's actually
Okay.
a neurodivergent as well. So
Yeah,
my fiance came home and said, "Check this guy out." And so I started following you, and I was like, and she said, then she's so excited. She's, you got to let me know when this episode comes out. Her name is Brittany, and she owns Bougie Lashes over in Guelph, Ontario. So
that's awesome. Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate that. I appreciate the bug in his ear to give me a poke.
yeah, here you go, Brittany. There's your shout out. Thanks to
Absolutely.
Megan for showing my fiance, putting me on to you, Brittany. But I hope you all have a great rest of your day. But before we go, please, if you really like the show, it really helps out if you head over to Apple Podcasts, hit that review, write a little blurb. Let me know what you think. If you hate me, let me know. And now Spotify too, guys, has you can rate podcasts on there. But the thing I love about it is you actually have to listen to the show. It's not like you can give me a fake review over on Apple. You actually got to listen to at least 30 seconds of the show to give rate for my show. And go check me out on Good Pods. I'm over on Good Pods now, everyone. So download the Good Pods app and check out the show over there if you can. Rated, ranked number 3 right now in the mental health category over there. So
Nice.
really loving the Good Pods community. But again, thank you again, Tyler, for coming on the show today and
My pleasure.
sharing our neurodivergent brains and going all over the squirrely map.
Pretty much. Story of my life.
Well, have a great rest of your day, Tyler.
And you. Thank you very much.